Well, hello and welcome back. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Not Just Crew. I'm on my own today. Simon's busy saving the world again. Got a cracking episode for you today. I've got the absolute pleasure of inviting back Matt Dockray, who you may remember literally from our one of our first episodes. Now, if you don't know the backstory, his story went global. I was going to say viral, probably not the best word to use, but his story went global after he appeared on a respirator in an isolation ward in a London hospital. He sent a text to his dad to warn everyone about how serious COVID-19 was. And now Matt, I flow with Virgin, hell of a character, absolutely amazing. Great rugby player. I don't know why he picked rugby league instead of rugby union, but that's a story for another time. So he's going to be joining us shortly after these titles.
Not Just Crew has been internationally inspired by you.
Well, welcome back again. Let's say about this time last year, I'll see if I can get the exact date from Matt. When this group started, it was all about what was going on. Crew didn't really know what was happening. And I was sitting down with my daughter one day, and all of a sudden, a very, very familiar face just appeared on Sky News. And I remember pretty much jumping up and scaring my poor Katie, which is my middle daughter, and saying, "Oh, I know him. Oh my God," or words to those effects. And this story went sort of global. And obviously, I was really quite concerned. It's something I'd known and sort of flown with. But then we had a great interview with Matt. It was fully recovered. Well, pretty much fully recovered by then. It's going to be my absolute pleasure to bring Matt in. I haven't seen him physically for about a year. So let's bring him in. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Trevor. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Really nice to see you again. I really can't believe it's been almost a year since you came on. Not quite a year. I can't remember what month it was, because when we first started, you were pretty much in hospital, but it's coming up to a year anyway. So the last we heard, you were recovering, getting a bit better. Your family were looking after you, and again, it must have been really, really worrying for them. So can you briefly tell us a story again? I remember, I don't know why it always starts with beer, but I remember it started with a foul. It's not even a foul tasting. It was a zero tasting beer at a Villa game.
Yeah, it's really weird. So Facebook keeps, when it throws those annoying memories up, like a year ago you're on a bike ride, or 2 years ago you were in this bar. So a year ago we just opened. So I was working with the company I have now, Venue Group, and we'd opened this brand new venue at King's Cross, and I'd had a bit of man flu, as I could describe it, full on proper man flu. I couldn't get out of bed. Oh, this is horrible. I was whinging and moaning around it. Mel, my wife, she'd had it a couple of weeks before, so she was like, "Oh, Mel, you just get over it." And it progressed worse and worse. I've been to the Villa League Cup final at Wembley with 80,000 people. So I'd super spreaded for quite a few weeks. And then the exact date was March the 19th. I got to a point where, I couldn't even, I was laid in bed. I literally couldn't even breathe, and wasn't being dramatic. The missus decided, I'm going to call an ambulance because she was fed up of me whinging. They turned up into hospital. So March 19th was the carted out, and no point did we believe we had COVID, because I think back then around 100 cases had been confirmed, and it was this mysterious thing that you washed your hands to and sang happy birthday, and that was it. And then it sort of got serious from then. I was in hospital, and the doctors came in and they gave us a test. Like, these tests you can get to a penny now were very rare, so it took a couple of days to get back, of which I was getting worse. And they said, look, you got COVID. There's nothing we can do. We can't treat it. All we can do is give you oxygen. We're going to probably sedate you, put you on a ventilator, and you've got probably a 30-40% chance of survival with the stats you've got. So, I mean, that was the conversation last time. Spoiler alert is we kicked its backside and we're here now. And a year later, we're coming out the other side of it with a few false starts. But I mean, the conversation, like chatting to Si last time, the understanding it with the paramedics, the amazing job that they did, and the doctors and nurses, and but brilliant. But here we are now. Yeah,
I was going to say, but I mean, at the time, well, you might have to correct me here. It was a text to your father. Did you ever expect that text to have the coverage and the global reach that it did?
No, not at all. It was a really weird one because I'd put a little Facebook post to my 300 mates who might know me, just to say, "Bloody hell, this is actually quite bad." Like, if I'd not caught it, I'd be one of those I'd be at my mate's house and it's all made up. But you're told by a doctor you got no one around you, so I was telling nearest and dearest, look, stop going out. We're all Yorkshire blood family. We're tough northern people who just stick two fingers up to everything and no one can tell us. But when it's that bad, you don't realise it's going to have the effect it did. I guess my face was just a fake, putting a face next to these numbers and statistics of this thing that's not going to catch you. So I was in and out of consciousness for a couple of days, and I woke up in the room and could see my dad on Sky News. So I'm sort of like semi-ventilator, deciding whether they're going to sedate me or not. And I could see my dad on Sky News, and I'm trying to chat to the nurse, going, "That's my dad." And she thought, "Oh, you're hallucinating."
Yeah.
So, a little bit after that, and then checked my phone and completely forgot I put a post and everything. And I tell you what, if you think your phone's busy on landing day, 22,000 messages later. But
wow.
But ultimately, it's the support, and that's what gets you through it. So to know that people care, and it made a difference. And even a year later, you get people saying, "I saw your post and I saw your dad, and we stayed in because of that." So
Well, I was going to say, it certainly woke me up. As I say, until you've been, because you got to remember this time last year, where it was sort of beginning of March, COVID was something only happening over the other side of the world. I mean, we just didn't expect it to have the impact it did, but it certainly sort of woke me up, and I thought, it's quite scary. But I was going to say, I mean, you said you had 22,000 messages. I suppose you're still answering those now.
Yeah, if anyone's watching and I haven't got back to you, I'm sorry, but I'll
one day.
Yeah, do you know what, and it's a funny thing. You sort of really good mates who you think are there for you aren't, but you reconnect with people that you haven't spoken to. And how many times we said that about crew? You can do a flight, bump into someone 10 years later, and it's like you met them yesterday. So the messages and support and everyone who's still in contact are your crew family. That
is so true. And so some flights last in memory. And I know what a good character you are. I was going to say, I mean, I remember 9/11 literally being one of the first flights back to New York with you. I went out for a quick drink with you. Oh my God, I did not know you would get the whole of the New York smiling and laughing again so quick, so quickly. And I never forget his name. I think I asked you this last time. Who was the? There was you singing and somebody else.
We had Paul Kilner and Phil Davis.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, to our viewers, we were there. 9/11, New York was really quiet. Bars were open. The atmosphere, you could hear a pin dropped. And all I can say is Matt really got this whole bar singing along and that lot. So I'll tell you what, so I know what a brilliant character you are. So, I mean, what was it like coming out of hospital? Obviously, you've got a young family. Did you have to stay separated from them for a while? How did that work at home?
So what they do, if you imagine, going back now, the hospital admissions were coming up. So they assess you to see if you can go home to a safe environment and someone can look after you. Because at the time, most people are elderly and there was a higher demographic to the old, so they were keeping them in hospital. I came home, Mel could look after me. The little one, because I'd had it, they assumed that they would both had it at some point. So I wasn't going back to infect them. they give you 3 or 4 tests to make sure you're clear. And because Mel's been crew 10, 15 years, she can look after me medically and everything's fine. So you're okay to walk out of the hospital. It is the slow rebuild. And then what you soon find, it's not the physical side, it's the mental side of it. There's two, everyone focuses on the physical bit, but to have the mental support was a lot. But yeah, they send you home, and the hard bit is everyone wants to come around and help, but no one can. Everyone's on lockdown at that point. So it was the week, it was the first lockdown, but I remember being in hospital in the bed, and you think things aren't getting worse, and then you think you're turning a corner, and then Boris has gone, we're locking down everything, all the bars are shut, everything's, and it's sort of like this really weird bubble where you think you're going to die, this is the end of the world. And I'm not, you know me, I love a bit of drama, but that is as dramatic as it gets. And then, I mean, we're coming out, there's still that niggling doubt in the back that, are we still coming out this one? But it's a strange old time. But yeah, back home to the family, and we got through it together. So it works well. Yeah,
well, it's good. Well, I've certainly seen your posts on Facebook, and that's really nice to see. Really nice to see. Now, I remember at the time you were trying to get your thoughts down on paper. Well, not paper necessarily, but on a blog. You titled it "Ordinary Survivor," which again, that went quite global. How's that going? Are you keeping that blog up?
Yeah, I mean, we stuck to it. It's funny. The reason I did it is because it was. The whole point of Ordinary Survivor is you come out and you get this survivor's guilt. There's people every single day dealing with cancer diagnosis. They're told they're not going to survive, and they don't survive. And all these people are a lot braver, but everyone wants to hear your story. And every day you'd get a phone call of, because it was quite new at the time, and you're on every TV show. We did Good Morning Britain, did BBC News, just because it was a story people wanted to hear. And it helped me get over it, and it helped talk about it, and it helped make a difference. You feel like you're doing something. I don't need an excuse to have a beer and chat. No. But then what happens is you start getting better physically, and it was a great thought dump. You put it all down and you put a post on, and people desperately want to hear about it. But then what happens is you trapped in this mental bubble, and unfortunately one of the side effects is you get really bad PTSD.
Right.
Yeah, so down to, you go through, how they explained it before is, it's like having a car crash, told that you're going to die, and then winning the lottery all at the same time. Your brain can't deal with it, and it doesn't know what's good and what's bad, and you just end up in this horrible cyclical thing. And so what happened, where it helped to talk about before, then it ended up with this period of, if you thought about or mentioned it, it stressed, even down to the beeps. You know, when you see like hospital programs 24 hours in A&E, if I was sat at a computer doing something, I could hear those beeps. You go into a cold panic, your chest starts hurting. So the more you talked about it, the more you reminded yourself of it. So it had to become a natural thing. So I stopped doing that. I left it as it is, and just sort of stepped away from it, just for more sanity. And again, just get some help and professional help, and they've been great.
And I suppose, say, for the first few weeks, although I know it goes on for months and even years, but as well as that, physically, how long does it take to recover from that? At what point, even though work wasn't really happening, at what point do you think you had enough energy to say, right, I'm ready to go back to work? How draining is it?
Yeah, it's everyone talks about long COVID. So the best way I can describe it is everyone reacts differently. Some people get scarring on their lungs, some people get internal organ issues. So my one was quite lucky in the fact that there was no scarring, but your body responds. It's a really weird thing. So my lungs work differently. They react differently. So, I mean, I've played rugby as long as I can remember, but you run around a rugby pitch, everyone blows out the backside after 5-6 minutes, and I'm a big lad anyway. But any exercise that you do, even if you're the fittest person, there's a guy in the same village, we were going on charity walks, and we suffer the same thing. 6 months, I'm a year in now, I still have an affected taste and smell. And that first 5 minutes of exercise is you just can't get over it. You're always out of breath to start with. Your body adjusts. But the fatigue took about 2 to 3 months. Then you get a bit of insomnia. So you're never really right. It's going through something. I guess it's like anything, but I'd say 3 to 6 months to feel back to normal. But then there's always a bit of linger with something.
Oh no! I can imagine. So I must remind the viewers that sort of, Matt, you played rugby at quite a high level for Leeds Rhinos.
Yeah, Wakefield. Yeah, Leeds to start with. Yeah, Wakefield Trinity when it was way back when. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I remember chatting to you about this because league-wise, I was always quite a big St Helens supporter. Anyway, so look, jumping forward a while, what makes this almost doubly worse is when you were ready to go back to work, all of a sudden the industry you were working in had been sort of decimated. So how do you initially deal with that? I mean, because you're quite high ranking in the company you're with. You run big venues. So what was it like to go from almost dying to finding out the industry's gone again, having a young family as well?
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. So you spent all your life in the aviation industry, and I think it was that week it was all hitting us. People are getting metal flights. There's people that fly Bs going under. People are being told that like this furlough was this new word. No one knew what was happening. And we sat down. We had a conference call. I was sat at home, and I mean, we're lucky. We're a privately owned company that the owner has done well in life, so can sustain, can put money into the business where we're not worrying about if it's shut for a little period. So back then it was, look, we're going to be shut for 12 weeks. But this COVID thing's going to go away, and that's it. So that first 12 weeks was okay. And then suddenly it's getting worse and worse. And like everyone, we're having to make calls and make redundancies and streamline the business. And then I find myself front and center because my role was head of customer experience and staff development. All those years of flying and training and managing over at BA, my role here was to do the same, but with hospitality staff. But then what happened is we had a response team. We had to put everyone on furlough. So there was Ben, the owner, myself, Jack, one of the operations guys, and a finance guy. And that was it, out of a cast of 200 people and a new venue we just opened. And our job was to do whatever we could to save the business. So look at all the suppliers, look at all the debts that we've got, look at an operations plan, look at the customer experience. We were one of London's biggest sites and venues where you turn up to watch a gig and turn up to get smashed. Suddenly we realized we've got to turn this into like London's biggest seated restaurant, and et cetera, et cetera. So the stress of my other half's a general manager of a pub. She doesn't know if she's in a job. We don't know if I'm in a job. But the weird flip side is you've just come from death's door, and actually you start thinking, if we can get through that, we're alive, that's it. So where other people haven't, they're still sat at home thinking, does COVID exist, et cetera, et cetera. I've had this wake up call with, wow, look, there's always going to be something there. We've always got family, we've always got friends, everyone's in this together. So let's start off a place where we're glad to be alive, and then try and use some enthusiasm rather than let the stress get to you. First rule, whether it's David Gott telling you, whether it's Tizzy, FTP, first thing you do in a situation is don't panic. I don't know, if there's a fire kicking off in a toilet and you hear FS enter flight deck, or can the nearest available crew member, you just don't panic. And it's the first, everything I've done over the past 6 months to a year is using all the training we've been given from SEP, from anything. So you don't panic, you assess the situation, and you know what, you just apply what you can and do it. And that's where we are now. So we've stuck in, we've survived, we've got a lot of funding, we've got a lot of support. We had this window of reopening where our venues went mental because it's outdoor spaces in London, and it's the only place you could turn up with your 5 mates to come and get drunk at one point. So absolutely. Because say it literally happened twice. I suppose you just got on your feet again, opening up, and your company probably spends thousands on plastic perspex dividers. What was the here we're going to be locked down again, and I'll say this from more of a practical side, like stock. Because I know at one point we were chatting and you literally had to pour away. I hate saying this, but you'll know what I'm going to say. Yeah. You literally had to pour away God knows how much stock. So, how did that feel? And how much does a business like that sort of lose? And how much can you actually recoup from that from the government? Or is it just written off? Yeah, so the good thing is all these systems. So it's like a beer furlough, if you like it. Yeah. We call them third spaces. So it's somewhere where you can come and spend the day. We're used to it. It's like, I don't know. Let's use Pasadena for example. If you went over the road from the hotel, you had all the shops. You could go to a bar. You could go watch some music. all our spaces, there's a music venue, there's restaurants and bars, and there's a massive open area to go and get drunk. So the biggest hit was the music. No one could perform. That's the soul of what we've got. We run that at a loss so that we can put amazing artists on there so you can go watch a gig, and we sell a load of beer. The problem is lockdown hit. This time we've got St. Patrick's Day, we've got the Six Nations, which was getting spicy. We've got thousands and thousands of pints of Guinness and beer and everything, and we'd stocked up. We were fully stocked, and then now we have to literally pour it into the Thames. But Heineken came back and said, look, we're going to pay all the duty back on the beer. So a pint of beer costs you a couple of pence to make. The rest of it's VAT and duty. So they pay that back to us. The Guinness goes out of date. Diageo finally jumped on board as well. So you get that back. A lot of the staff are on 0 hours contract, so the furlough actually helped them. So if they're on reduced hours, they're getting some pay. So we had a good platform, but our soul, which was music and festivals, our owners in a band has played all over the world. The whole reason for being is to put music on and entertainment and to recreate that, and that was ripped apart. So the music side of it had to be replaced by people sitting down, 6 people on a table and drinking some beer. So we had to reshape our whole business. But yeah, we lost thousands and thousands, and I guess the big number is we're probably just short of £1 million in terms of loss of revenue and debt. We've never had a single penny of debt in the business, but our owner's dad, who's the chairman, said, well, that's life. If you measure life on, we're in debt now, but we're going to be in profit in the future. If you measure it by 1 year, then you're not the right businessman. But
yeah, that's nice. It's nice to hear such optimism coming out, because I think everyone, regardless of age, is ready to party. How you party, I don't know. So what's the build up now? How much sort of play? Because officially April the 12th, the world sort of opens up. How much planning is going into that now?
Yeah, huge amount. So we've been treading water, for example. So we a lot of our spaces we're using as film studios. So we're doing live streams for music. So we've got some great people who are launching albums. Also, we've had Liam Payne down here, Zara Larsson. We've got a comedy gig going on at the minute. So we've got things that pay the bills, but don't generate much profit. So we've got an operation going on. But we've set the project literally in today. We've had a big meeting with all the ops managers. It's a 5-week plan to get everything open again. So we've got to speak to the suppliers. There's still people on furlough, so you have to get to the right person. We've got to make sure the menus, we've got to get the food traders back in business. We've got to invest a lot of capital, so we've got to secure that from the banks to make sure that we can pay people to start with to get going again. And ultimately, and I think Boris has said it today, there's still no guarantees that on. I mean, we always leave it till a couple of days after all the idiots will come out on the 12th. So people like me and you will go get drunk on the 12th, and then we'll leave it to the Wednesday just so we don't want to put anyone under pressure. We'll have a nice natural opening. But yeah, it's a 5-week plan just to get on our feet again, and then we build another 5 weeks into the next one, which is in May, where we open our indoor spaces, and then we're into the Euros. We're a Euros fan zone. We'll be showing a big screen. That's where we made our money to start with when the World Cup was on. All those images of throwing beer in the air. That was down at Flatiron Square. So we've got, if touch wood, if everyone gets their jabs and everyone stays and behaves, and we're going to be celebrating and partying. Unfortunately, the first game I think is North Macedonia against Netherlands. That's first Euros game where everyone can look at each other and hug each other. But what a game that'll be!
Oh, it will be. And I'd say in the old days, we'd probably had quite a large sort of Dutch sort of community within sort of London anyway. But I mean, it sounds like it's all being organised. And as you say, it's what's going on behind the scenes, like the food vendors. You know, they've got to get all their stock in. So it's almost like turning an oil tanker around. But it sounds like you're well on course. Employment opportunities for ex-crew, are they coming up with you?
Yeah, I mean, this is. I've already posted a couple of messages on the channel. We had to make a lot of redundancies, and a lot of our guys are casual staff, and they've gone home to parents or university. But one thing I was trying to do right back at the start is I came into this business as a manager to drive that customer experience. When we locked down, I went in as an interim general manager role just because we had to reshape. I'd never been a general manager. I'd never run a bar. I run a barbecue business for a bit. But the first day I sat there thinking, right, I've got to count beer, which is like counting meals down the back when they get loaded on.
Yeah.
I've got to rota some staff, so I've done a little bit of maternity groundwork in rostering, and that worked. So that worked, and then like counting the bar, 3 o'clock in the morning. If you can count a red bar down the back, you're fine. So all these transferable skills. Suddenly you thought, hang on, I can come in as a general manager, and it's not that I'm any good. It's just that you've got the right. You're trained for 20 years how to do all these things with a great team around it. And when we had to apply hospitality, we employed a couple of mixed fleet crew came down as hosts. A couple of crew got parents over at BA. A couple of friends of mine had come to help out. And it was night and day between the old staff who just stood behind the bar pouring beer and us guys, I call it us, who were front and center going up to, it was just like automated service for us. So you have to reserve. So when someone turns up at the door, it's like boarding. So a host takes them to sit at a seat, which is just like sitting them down in upper class or first. And then they order a drink, and the drink comes over to the table, just like someone's pressed a call bell. You have a chat with them. And what we think is normal is actually blinding magic to quite a lot of people who even work in the industry. So fast forward to when we're rehiring now, we've got loads of salaried or potential development opportunities, or even people who just, you know what, I'm on furlough, I want to come and do a few hours working behind a bar or serving drinks. It's really enjoyable. It just reminds me of being on a flight. And I think if you can do that 6 a.m. on an Orlando, 9 o'clock in the middle of London on a Thursday is perfect.
Oh, absolutely. I think it would suit. I think it would suit crew, as you say. Yeah. These, I mean, as you know, we've talked about transferable skills on many of occasions. Some people not really understanding what they actually are, but this is what we're trying to get across. You've got these skills already, and either most crew are very modest with them, or they're just not realising what they've got. In fact, I think sadly, crew are the worst for putting themselves down by saying, "Oh, I've been crew for God knows how many years. I can't do anything else." Oh, believe me, you absolutely can. Well, look, I'm sure you'll give us a contact, which we'll pop down in the description there. Where are you seeing the future? I mean, by Christmas. Well, by a long way away, actually. Okay. Let's go a bit before then. Summer. What do you think August 2021 is going to be like?
I think, do you know, we're going to be. There's going to be a novelty period if we stick to this plan, and we're only going by government advice. The plan is there'll be a novelty period where everyone wants to go out, everyone wants to enjoy themselves, but everyone's going to go back to work. Life's not going to be the same, but there's going to be such a really nice feeling about getting back to normality, but it's a new normal. So people are going to go back to jobs. So if I was putting my uniform back on and I'm lucky enough to keep my job at an airline, it's not going to be the airline that you left over a year and a half ago. If people go work, I'm gagging to serve someone at an actual bar. No one's approached the bar in over a year. So people are going to feel nervous being in an environment. People are going to be nervous going out. It's going to grow and grow. We're looking at it. I've analysed it. I'm looking at September. We're going to have a really, like the Euros is going to be on. There's Wimbledon will come back to normal. We're going to have all these social events. The Olympics will be on. So I think those signposts, maybe a couple of festivals will happen. But it'll be September when kids go back to school after the summer holidays. People go back to the offices. That's when I reckon things are going to be normal, but completely different way of life.
Yeah, and plus I think everyone's going to be pleased to see any pub open. I mean, I've always been a big supporter of pubs, even way before this, because I've always found it absolutely heartbreaking seeing pubs all boarded up, knowing the memories. And it was one place that all sort of generations could go to and have a drink together and feel totally comfortable. So day one, 12th of April, happens to be my daughter's 21st as well. What's going to happen? Will people have to book? Will they book online, telephone? How's the booking going to work?
So we're going back to the old government restrictions, so not much has changed. So we need to know who's on site. So every pub, every restaurant will pretty much reservation system. So you'll go online, book a table, we're outdoor space so we can have up to 6 people. So you and your 5 mates can come down, sit on a table. They've got away with a substantial meal, so that's gone. There's no curfew. So yeah, from 12 o'clock, you can book your table, come and sit down. Especially at our venue. We've defined it around the customer experience. So you sit down, scan the QR code. Don't have to put all your details in. Everything's Apple Pay or digital. So you just click a button. We've timed it down to 2.5 minutes. We guarantee to have your drink from our bar to your table. It's funny that the things you teach all the staff and the guys who've been absolutely amazing here, because they've had their own stresses, and even teaching them how to walk with a tray. I mean, you know me, Trev. I was never taking anything out in J on a tray.
Me neither.
You'd be surprised that no one's ever carried a tray or delivered a drink on a tray, but we're trained to deliver it in turbulence and not even think about it.
That is so true, and a fair few drinks on there as well. Especially during boarding. But it's gonna. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that service. I haven't heard it from him years, but Willie Scott always reminded me. He'd always rap me on the back of the head with a tray if I didn't carry it. So that service is done with a proper tray, and it's a really nice environment. It's a good sense. It's like a utopia in the middle of this madness. So we have a bit of music on, we have a bit of sport in the background, cocktails, beers. Yeah, it's going to nice environment to get back to.
Yeah, well, exactly. I say on here. I mean, because I've actually got my SEP coming up even. I don't know when I'm going to be returning. For those who don't know, I'm furloughed as well. For those who are going to apply to you, Matt, and they are furloughed, are there employment opportunities for them, knowing they sort of could be sort of called back? What sort of kind of commitment would you want from them?
Yeah, so what I'm looking for and what I'd love to have is people who want a complete career transition, or people who want to come and work. We've got music venues, there's casual work, there's opportunities at any time, but we'll always have hours for everyone. So because furloughs extending throughout the year, if people want to come and be a host at the site for £10 an hour and run a reservation system or just engage with people, there's opportunities. And we're developing our support office, our head office. So we've got marketing, so people who've done marketing degrees or background who want a complete career change. We've got salary position. I've got general manager. So our new site over in King's Cross. It's a 600 capacity music venue. It's a speakeasy bar. We've got a secret private members bar. We've got a food area with Michelin star sushi in it. We're looking for someone who, and if I can step into that role as a general manager, obviously the whole of the hospitality industry are desperate for these jobs, but we're looking for people with transferable skills, with development opportunities. If I've got an FSM or a CSD who've been a manager for 10, 15 years, who've run first class, premium, economy, and people management, they're the transferable skills that we need, because you'll have a team alongside you. So there's something for everyone. Whether 20 people applying, only one's going to get the job, but I'd rather pigeonhole that opportunity to people who are sat there now thinking, do you know what, I'm fed up of flying, or I don't want to fly, or I'm on furlough and I want to give this a try. It's a really nice, lovely environment to work in, whether it's food, working in a restaurant, working in a bar, serving people, stuff we do in our sleep, but it puts it on the ground and gives it a bit of a different context. But
I was going to say, and also you're sort of telling us that your venues are used quite regularly for sort of filmmaking, even sort of during this period. So there's always something going on there. So it sounds like it's bit busy times. Well, look, I'm glad that's sort of all working out. We're just coming up to the half an hour, but so we were chatting earlier, and we're thinking if everything goes all right, we might, and I do stress possibly might be able to get a joint sort of event going between not just crew and Matt. He's certainly got the venues. Early days yet. We sort of said if we did, it would probably be midweek, and we sort of obviously have to gauge some interest first. But I don't know about you, Matt, but I think the whole aviation world and the whole world is ready to party. Even somebody as old as me, I'm definitely ready to party there. But yeah, that's something we're going to look into. What do you think about that idea, Matt? Do you think that'd be a goer?
Absolutely. Look, even if it's a table of six with me, you, Si, and Chisnell, and all the way up to, I mean, like some of the best parties I've seen. I'm thinking back to when this place was flying. We've had Apple hire the whole event out for their Christmas parties for 2,500 people. So I would love to have an excuse to put a massive party on, get some familiar faces, new faces, show the staff here how we do. They're already bored of my airline stories.
Who could be bored of those, Matt?
Oh, do you know what? We could talk all day long about stuff, and it's normal to us. You tell some of the kids that work here, and they go, "He's just making half this stuff up."
No, I know. Well, that's like my children. So a message came through. It's okay. Oh, nice. Very nice. It's all going well. Well, look, Matt, so it's come to the half hour. Thank you so much for joining us again. We'll definitely look into that. I say you're looking well, my friend, and I say I for one, and I'm sure many others are so glad you're better. Oh, look, the messages are coming through now, Matt. Look at that. Yeah, everyone's gonna.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be ready for a party. All right, okay. Thank you, Matt. I was going to say, everyone else, please join us next week. We're speaking to Care Skills Pros, the new sponsor for this program. Join us. They've got careers coming up. If you have, like Matt's already mentioned, if you've had enough of flying, but you want to go into a profession, they're offering fast track for crew, and they're also offering a qualification. So please come and join them next week. That would be absolutely worth it. In fact, be definitely worth a listen. This Saturday, you got Simon's Saturday summary coming back. But other than that, take care all, and we'll see you next Monday. Once again, Matt, thank you so much.
Cheers,
Speak to you soon, my friend. Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Not Just Crew has been internationally inspired by you.